is in the call. So I know Badia is a veteran in the world of entrepreneurship.
Mr. Badir, say على يمين.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm here. Hello, Arthur, and hello, Hani. Good,
it's good
good
to
to
see
see
you,
you.
Badia.
Likewise, thank you.
By the way, everyone, this is a give and take type of session, right? So please feel free, to be interactive, talk to us. Like the more you ask us questions, this is your time. This is your opportunity for you to get to know us, to ask us any question. And honestly, we would love to get to know all of you as well. So yeah, it would be amazing if you guys could turn on your cameras, if you could chit chat with us. I think that would be a very cool session.
Yeah, please, if you can turn your
I
cameras
like
on.
people, so
Yeah.
make me happy, please.
Hello, this is Ahmad.
Hi, Ahmed.
Hi, Ahmad.
I want to share my idea. Actually, I have an idea that I'm currently working on it. And recently, I got an intellectual property for my idea from the Ministry of Economy in Lebanon, so that I can start officially working on it. Because right now, I'm also trying to find a teamwork. Uh, Engineers, marketeers. So the idea in general is something like to personalize the lab reports. What I mean that anytime you go to the lab and you do the blood test, you got a PDF or a sheet containing your lab reports with the stars. And let's say layman or someone that is not in the field will go directly to Google and start Googling what does HbA1c means before knowing why it is high, for example. So my idea is to implement a system in the lab so each and every time you got your test result, the patient will have a personalized results based on you exactly, based on your profile, your age, your ethnicity group, your family history, your personal medical history. Um this is the idea in
Yeah,
short, let's say. So
that's that's amazing. Thank you for
what I
sharing. I know
did
it takes
right
a lot of
now is I created the content, the major content, and now I want to really start digging, study the market, connect with professionals to see how can I implement such an idea.
That's
And
amazing.
thank you for
And
the platform.
Okay.
I'm sure the program can help you a lot. So thank you for sharing that. Takes a lot of courage to pitch, especially in public. So I think that's a good start. Annie, shall we get started?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Don't know me, I'm Hani Haidar, the program manager at the Zen UBI Park. We're very happy to be having an Ask Me Anything with our very successful, knowledgeable entrepreneur in residence, Mr. Arthur Bizdikian. So what we're going to do is Arthur going to introduce himself. We're going to go through very quickly through a slide deck, around 5, 6 slides. And then we're going to open discussion for you to ask anything you need to know about the program from Arthur. So without further ado, first of all, please, again, on with your cameras if you can. And Arthur, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Annie. Hey, everyone. So my name is Arthur Bizdikian. I've been an entrepreneur I've been working in entrepreneurship for about 10 to 12 years. A couple of years ago, I decided to start my own company, which is Lemonade Fashion. It was an idea that I got when I was in Lebanon. Honestly, it was just something very random. It was a problem that I was facing because I have big boobs and I could never find outfits that fit me. But my dad used to be a fashion designer and his friends were all designers and tailors. And then one day I got the idea to build a platform for custom made fashion. So that was the idea. I got so excited. On the same day, I called a couple of my friends and I told them, hey, I want to build this company. And we met for coffee. I pitched the idea to them. They liked it. And then we started working. Honestly, when we started, we had no business plan, no strategy. we just had one rule. The rule was every time we doubt ourselves, every time we think that there's no way this is going to work, we would pick up the phone, we call someone, we book a meeting. Just by doing that, we had around 12 meetings in the first week because we doubted ourselves almost 12 times. And that was a great start because 12 meetings in a week is usually not what an entrepreneur does in their first week when they get an idea. But what ended up happening is that those things started building up. And within the first month, we had already won our first competition. Within the second month, we have gotten our first grant. So things just started moving ever since. And I've seen other entrepreneurs do that successfully as well. Fast forward today, the company grew a lot. So Lemonade now has changed so much. We're no longer a platform for custom fashion. We're more in the social e-commerce space, but we've raised millions of dollars. The company now has a presence in the US, in the UAE. It's backed by the Abu Dhabi government. It has people from Facebook and TikTok and Google invested in it. And it was a long journey and I learned a lot, but I couldn't have done it on my own. And throughout the journey, I joined a lot of programs like iPark. So I joined multiple ones. And the reason why that's important, and it was important for our success so far, it's because you always need to learn things you never have. So to become successful, you need to unlock certain knowledge and experience. And you need to learn from the people who have done that before. The problem with today's world is that a lot of time we listen to maybe academics who have researched the topic. But if you really want to succeed, you want to succeed and you want to learn from people that have succeeded before you. And that's what the whole program of iPart is about. So the way the program is structured is the first phase of the program, you get to learn on your own and we are here to support you. But then phase 2 and so on, it's very personalized, which means we work, and Handy's going to go through the details, but we work with every single entrepreneur in our program to make sure that you have access to the right mentors. You would have access to me every single week. We're going to have our monthly mandatory calls. There's clinic hours, and you all have your own mentors. It's a platform to hyper scale your journey and to go super fast. What I'm personally very proud of AB iPark is the fact that we have a lot of global partnerships, which means when someone joins a program, and if you make it to phase 2 and above, almost certainly you will travel through the program. You will meet global investors. Most of our companies raise investment from global investors after their first 6 months working with us. And yeah, I'm very excited to see who amongst you is going to join us. And I can't wait to work with you and I can't wait for us to learn together because I actually learned so much from our entrepreneurs as well. It's an amazing journey and I wish it on everyone, but it is a very hard journey. And I have to warn you, it's exhausting and it takes a lot of mental power and a lot of resistance and perseverance. Luckily, that's something we're born with in Lebanon, but yeah, that's it for me.
Great. Thank you so much, Arthur, for the introduction. So we're just going to have to go through a very short slide deck quickly, and then we can move into Q&A. So I just always want to lead out with one of our favorite companies, Chimera. And these are a model that everybody should try to emulate. Even though we might have non-students on the call, it's a good example that Chimera is a student-led company out of the engineering department that were able to raise a significant amount, over $100,000 of investment from an investor in America. So as you can see, AUB, as Arthur has said, can connect you to global investors. As iPark, we're the flagship incubator of AUB, and we're located in Beirut Digital District. We also have now an office on West Hall, the 4th floor. So anybody who wants a hot desk or a meeting room, you can contact me or Maria, and we can set you up and you can start working out of the AUB Innovation Park office in BDD. So today we're going to talk about the Idea Validation Program. It's a 10-week program, both synchronous and asynchronous, which means you will have online modules to complete. And there will also be 1 or 2 webinars a week on different topics like journey, mindset, design thinking, AI tools, business modeling, financial literacy, and pitching. And you can go 2 tracks if you want to be eligible for phase 2, and we'll get to phase 2 in a moment. To be eligible, you have to do the sprint deliverables one by one, and they don't consume an exorbitant amount of time. But if you don't want to work towards the next phase, you just want to learn skills, then you can audit the modules and you can see everything all at once, but you won't be eligible for a certificate or to carry on in the incubation. So in parallel with Entrepreneurship Foundation's technical business stuff, we also have a module by an expert in executive coaching called Sandy Malloy, who's developed a course just for personal development for entrepreneurs. As Arthur knows very well, and that would be part of Sprint 1, the journey and the mindset and knowing what to expect is a big part of taking the next step forward. So the personal development module will help with the resilience and soft skills that perhaps you might or might not have at this point in time. And on top of all of this, the program would allow you to gain sessions with Arthur when his AIR strategic advisory, mentorship, skills match up to couple with other startups or to enter a startup, R&D facilities at AUB, ecosystem partners, and among many other things. So the funnel. So Arthur was discussing phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 growth, and this is what it would look like. Ultimately, we could do a call for application, what we're doing right now. Stage 1, we get the first group. There would be a screening process towards phase 2, usually with a jury of investors to screen the startups in stage 1. From stage 2, and then we'd have the mega event at the end of stage 2, which is a combination of the President's Innovation Challenge and the demo day. And ultimately from that, we get to stage 3 with the go-to-market startups. And with the growth program, we have partnerships in Europe, we have partnerships in the GCC, we have partnerships in the USA. So we leverage these partnerships to send our startups to those different locations to try to enter markets outside of the scope of Lebanon, while retaining ideally a back office here in the country. Just some statistics. So we've had 5 cycles so far, graduated around 70 startups. We've given out prize money around $445,000. The startups have raised $8 million from the core incubation, and the revenues they generated is around $2 million. As you can see, our startups are located across the board in Lebanon, in the GCC, in the USA, and in that 3 of the 30 Forbes 30 under 30 in MENA, Middle East, were startups that came out of iPark, which is a tremendous achievement. I believe it's 10% of the entire group for Forbes 30 under 30 that was acknowledged to be AUB startups. And not only this, we sent startups to Silicon Valley. Arthur had previously won the incubation prize in Draper when he visited many years ago. And we sent other startups through Arthur's connection to Draper. And one of our startups, Fixalign, now Fixaligner, changed his name, actually won one of the 2 prizes in a contest which had around 100 startups. The investment prize was $100,000 and came out of AUB, just to show you the talent, the level of talent that's coming out of this university and region. And here we have the people behind the team. So Dr. Yusuf Asfour, who is our executive director, Maha, our director, Reda, community growth and outreach, myself as program manager, Mary, operations coordinator, Noor, operations manager, and Arthur is our entrepreneur in residence. Finally, and Arthur had mentioned this, we just goes to show how well connected the AUB Innovation Park is for growth partners all across the world, ecosystem partners in different locations, specifically in Lebanon and around the area, and capital partners that help us to create funding opportunities for the startup. So that's the presentation. This is the QR code. Please scan it now, and we can then start with the Q&A for the next 45 minutes. I'll just give you a moment to scan, and then I'll stop sharing and we can get to the Q&A. So please scan if you haven't already. Thanks. Okay, great. So now we're going to open Q&A. You can speak if you want. You can raise your hand. We'll be monitoring the session. So please go ahead and start with your questions to Arthur.
Hello. Hello. My
Abbas.
name is Abbas. Currently based in Brussels, Belgium, AUB alumni, civil engineering. So thank you so much for this call. It's very inspiring. And it's also a nice icebreaker in case we have ideas. So thanks for that. So I have an MVP. I'm also a full-time employee, by the way. So it's also interesting to see your perspective as well. So this will be my next question. But basically, I have an MVP. Participated already in a IEEE competition and won third place. I also applied already for this program. So looking forward for next steps. But maybe my direct question, and also maybe before my question, I would like to quickly introduce my idea. So basically, my MVP revolves around scanning receipts and supermarket receipts and getting back information on your consumption, on your spending, carbon footprints, also recipe suggestions, and so really making use of your receipt and extracting as much information as possible. So maybe my follow-up question would be, how do you balance between your professional life and startup world? And when is really the breaking point when you say, okay, maybe it's the time to move into the entrepreneurship world? And yeah, basically, how do you manage this duality? Maybe I would like your perspective on that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, and I know it's something that everyone um, goes through. And congrats for already placing high in the competition and for having an MVP. That's not easy to do. Listen, to be honest, in the beginning you have to balance them. You're gonna have to still do your job because you need security, you need an income, and then you're gonna have to work on your startup after it, right? And it's not gonna be easy, but I think it's worth it. So you might have to, I don't know, work for your job till 5, 6 p.m. and then you might have to work every day from 7 to 10 or 11 on your company and then put in a bit more time during the weekend. And that's usually how most entrepreneurs start. At some point, when things start getting a bit more serious, when you start having investors that want to come on board and so on, the moment you're starting those conversations, you need to start thinking about moving full time. Because investors will not invest if you're not a full timer on your company. So they usually want you and your other co-founders to be full timers. That's when they would start backing it and so on. So if I were you, and that's what I did in the beginning, I had to change the quality of my lifestyle. And every entrepreneur goes through that, which means for the next 2 to 3 years, you're gonna have to sacrifice a bit of maybe the luxuries or so on that you enjoy and live on a smaller budget. And every penny that you can save right now, you save it so that once you leave your job, you have enough funding to sustain you. Because even when you start taking a paycheck from your own company, it's still not might not be as much as you would have been getting paid at your current job, right? So you might have to take a pay cut in the beginning, but I think it's worth it, and I think it's fine. But yeah, you need to take that step when you feel like it's the right time. Okay, don't rush it, and when you know, if that makes sense. But you don't want to leave your job if you cannot sustain yourself for at least a year. Okay, if you only have enough to sustain yourself for 2 months, I don't think it's a good idea to leave, because then what's going to happen is you're going to add so much pressure on yourself and you're going to burn out within the first 60 days. Okay, so you need to make sure you have a nest egg. You need to make sure you have some support. Some entrepreneurs get some support from their family members, which again is not the ideal thing to do, but if you had to, you had to, right? So at the end of the day, it's your baby. It's something you want to make grow. It's a vision that you have, and it's your job to do the impossible to make it happen. So there will be some sacrifices along the way.
Thank you so much. Maybe one final question. It will be my final one, but I think it's relevant to many people. How do you validate your idea? How do you make sure that there's appeal in the market and customers potentially would use it?
Well, that's an entire program, to be honest. Um, validating your idea and finding we call it product market fit, usually is a journey. long story short, right, just for the sake of this call, is I would say, and this is a cliche, you're gonna hear everyone talk about it, but we say fall in love with the problem, don't fall in love with the solution, right? Because your product will change, your technology will change, what you're offering will change. What you want to do is you want to see what is the pain point that I'm trying to solve. And in the beginning, when I started the conversation today, I was telling you what was the pain point that I was facing. When I talk about the pain point, because that makes it personal to me, it means that I have a mission, I have a vision, there's a change in the world that I want to see. And the rule number one of entrepreneurship is the bigger the problem you're solving, the bigger your company can be, right? Because the more people are facing this pain, the more people are struggling with this. And then from there on end, right, once you identify the problem, here's the thing. There's two paths you can take. There's one path, which is the path of overdeveloping early on, which means you don't talk to your customers and you start developing what you think they want. That is usually the path that will cost you so much money, okay? Because you will build a version of the platform that people might not want, a version of your product that people might not want. So throughout the program, you're going to see that we're going to focus a lot on what we call user interviews, customer interviews, feedback loops. So we always integrate feedback loops in our journey because at the end of the day, if you're building something for your customers, you want to make sure your customers want to use that. So instead of assuming what they want, we build it with them. I personally am not a big fan of surveys. I think there's better ways to test things out. So that's why usually we also do things sometimes before MVP. So sometimes what we do in the beginning is we work on what we call it lo-fi prototype. The lo-fi prototype means you still have no code. You have not developed a single thing. You've just created potential designs, and then you go and you try to show it to people and see how they're interacting with the designs and make them click on the design even if it's on the paper, just for you to see, is this making sense or not, right? And then we do this multiple times, and then from there, based on your learnings, you start developing, um, the MVP and so on. And it's a very fine line because users don't always know what they want. So this is, I would say, 40% art and intuition, and it's 60% feedback. And then you need to learn how to find that balance between them. And you need to learn how to listen to your guts. So unfortunately, none of the answers around entrepreneurship are very clear because if it was, then everyone in the world would have been super successful. So that's why it's always 60% process, 40% art. But the better you get at it, the more the ratios change because the more you know how to maneuver.
Thank you so much.
Okay, questions?
Yeah, and Abbas, I'm glad you asked these questions because those are usually the type of conversations and topics that we would be having during the program. Now, a lot of times we would be in group sessions, but a lot of times what happens is we were working one-on-one, which means when you have questions like this, we would be applying it specifically to your company. And this is not just for you, this is for everyone, right? So I think that's the power of the program. Yes, Elias.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Jad. This is Elias. Hi. And briefly, for our idea, to simplify checkout, like a group checkout at any point of sale on any website. So, for example, any checkout page on any website, you're able to split payments between different people. My question is regarding the IVP program. Let's say I'm already at the lo-fi prototype stage with, for example, a pitch deck done and some business plan already made. Is there any way of, for example, getting mentorship instead of going through different phases if there's some things that are already done?
Listen, honestly, if it's already done, you can just upload them to the system. But I wouldn't suggest or I wouldn't advise you to do it that way because the more times you watch something, the more you learn. And every time you watch it based on where you are in your business, you're going to learn something else.
Yes.
So I've taken the same workshops multiple times, and each time I took it, I learned something different in it. And I was like, wait, how did I miss this the first time? Because I would be thinking of a different thing because my business, for example, is at a different level at this phase. So my advice usually to everyone is no, just go through the program and learn, right? Because you might get an aha moment, you might see or hear something that you hadn't the first time. Or maybe during the group session, someone asks, a question, and then the answer that is given for you is an awakening, because it happens all the time. Actions and relationships that you build. And to be honest, the IVP is really the pace that you decide to go on. But my advice is just fully commit to it, benefit both from the sessions and the mentorship, right? Because worst case scenario, you're going to learn something. That's the worst thing that's going to happen, right? So I don't think it's a bad idea. If I were you, that's what I would do.
Yes, okay. And regarding the idea validation point of this, it is in what phase? For example, like I wouldn't want to work on something that might be not a good idea, for example. Or like I would like to pivot on my idea depending on what mentors would say.
Yeah, so the whole program is the idea validation program because an idea validation comes in multiple stages. It goes all the way from ideation, like where you're brainstorming, you're coming up with a problem and a solution as a thesis, but then you have a long process. And it's not always about just the mentors. The mentors are one part of the equation. Another part, which we just discussed earlier, was you need to validate it in the market. You need to go and you need to talk to potential customers. You need to talk to potential users. You need to show this and gather feedback, right? You need to see what your competition is already doing. You need to see how big of the market size this is to validate whether this is a need or it's not a need. You see what I mean? So the whole program is the validation program. And we walk you through, so this happens in multiple sprints, and each sprint is designed for you to be able to have a deliverable at the end. When you combine this journey, you will reach at the end of the journey to a place where you feel more confident to say yes or no. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, well, thank you very much.
And so what's your background?
We're currently students. I'm in computer science and he's in business.
Yeah, I'm business finance.
Okay, good combination. Yes, Sharbin, please go ahead.
No, yes. So I'm Sharbel Tumiya. I actually joined late, so I'm not sure if you already talked about this. Basically, I currently have started a startup with my friends that are currently located in Cyprus and the only one at the UBA. And I want to ask about funding. How does one actually get funding? We went through the idea validation and we started the website. We started actually getting the products. But how does one? I'm not sure if you already talked about that.
No, we didn't go into the details, and I don't think that's something that we can, fully cover today because raising funds is a long process. And it really depends on the type of company that you're building, and it depends on your profiles as well. So if you're already a successful entrepreneur from before, when you have a new project, it's so much easier to raise funds. So it really depends on the different stages. But at the end of the day, people raise funds, like successfully raise funds, when they have proof that what they're building works. And I'm not just talking about the technology or the product that you're building. I'm talking about everything, which means in the beginning, what investors look at is they look at the Mike Tyson has a very nice quote, which I always is the moment you get punched in the face, all of your plans disappear. And then is where you need to start figuring things out as you go. And that's what investors look at. They look at, are you founders who will be able to solve any problem that you face? Because everyone knows that whatever plans you have will not work, right? The market is going to punch you in the face, your competitors are going to punch you in the face, environment's going to punch you in the face. Something might happen, right? COVID might happen, a war might happen. Trump might decide, like today, to stop all, financing to Lebanon. You never know. The market is very unstable. So the investors look at, are you founders that will be able to, adapt to any situation? So that's one. Two, they look at what is being built, right? Is this a big enough problem? Does this have a big enough demand and a big enough need? Is this a very big market? So if you're targeting a market, for example, that is worth $1 million at best or $2 million at best, you won't really get investment because the investor will be like, okay, it's a very small market. Even if they succeed in a really good way, the profit is still going to be very, very small. That's why they usually look at big industries. They look at, okay, how much is this problem potentially worth on a global level or regional or so on. And then from there on end, they want to see, does this make business sense? Which means, do they believe that the business model that you've created with time can be cash flow positive, can be profitable? They look at the intellectual property. They look at how much can this idea be worth. So sometimes they don't just look at the profit side, they look at the potential exits. Maybe you're building a technology that another company would want to buy, and they know for a fact that there are companies looking for certain solutions. So it's really a moving dynamic, right? So there's no one way to raise funds or one formula to a successful fundraise. But at the end of the day, it's all about trust and it's all about the potential of success. So the more ready you are to succeed, the more you can prove that you will be able to succeed, the easier it is for you to raise funds. And that's where these types of programs come in, right? Because investors trust the quality of the program. So when they see that someone graduated from a program, they're more willing to invest because they know that these people have put in the work and they have this badge of certification, right? So they have the badge of approval from the program itself. And that's why we also introduce you to a lot of investors. And along the way, we will be working on, so we have an entire sprint called Investor Readiness. So that's where we also work one-on-one with the companies to make sure that, they're ready to be able to pitch to investors. They have the correct documents, they have the right data, they know how to present the idea. So it's a journey.
Yeah, it's understandable. So basically, in case we do join you, you will be introducing us to potential investors as well.
We have demo days. So demo days is when you get to come and pitch on stage, and in the audience you have a lot of different investors. Also, our investors are mentors in the program, which means they will be giving some of the workshops, and then you get to have some one-on-one time sessions with them. And then anytime where we see that we can potentially match you with a good investor in our network, so we will actually do that.
Okay, it does make sense. One other thing is we did meet a couple of investors, but all we all got was usually very low amounts. So how do we get bigger amounts in one way or another? So we just got amounts to make prototypes and prototypes and prototypes. Never really got an amount to go into the market and start selling.
Again, you have different stages of investment. You have even the early stage investment is split into different phases. So you have early stage investment, which includes idea stage investment, a pre-seed investment, a seed investment. So each one of these phases usually has different typical amounts. And then once you have something working and validated, right, that's where the bigger amounts start coming in. So you have series A, B, C, and so on. But it really depends on the phase that your company is in. So yeah, in the beginning, an investor is not going to come in and give you a lot of money, right? Because they're still not sure of what you're doing. So they would be like, you know what? I can give you $5,000, $10,000, $50,000 to get started. Then you have a prototype, right? You're like, okay, I have a prototype and I validated. I know that there's certain demand and a certain amount of need. Then you go and you raise a bit more, right? You might raise 200, 250,000. So this would still put you in the pre-seed stage. You take that money, and the whole point of that is to make the technology a bit better and then to prove a bit of traction in the market. Then you can go raise a seed. Seed means you want to properly open up your first market. That can be anywhere between $500,000 to $2 million, right? So usually investments come in different stages, especially when you're a
Okay.
first-time founder, right? So typically what I would say is whatever amount of time you thought it was going to take you to build this company, multiplied by 3 to 5. So if you thought this is going to happen in 1 to 3 years, you need to understand that building a startup might take you 5 to 8 years.
Yeah, that does make sense, honestly. Okay. How do we join the program, by the way?
Hani, do you want to put back the QR code on the screen?
Yeah, I'm gonna put the link to the website. You just you would apply through the website اللي هي على application form. Okay, one moment. Okay, I put the link to the IVP 2025 landing page, and you can apply through the link. It's like apply now sends you to a form that you fill, and that's how it happens. We have a question from May Muhammad. He has several questions. Question 1, how elaborative should I be regarding my idea in the application? Okay. Any details about intellectual property policies in the program? Can the program offer mentorship and help with assembling a team if my idea is to be based in the US? So first one was how elaborative should I be regarding my idea and the application?
I mean, it doesn't need to be too long, right? Like not an essay, but I would say a paragraph with 250 words, maybe, like just for you to be able to paint, first of all, what is the problem you're trying to solve and what is the solution that you have in mind and what makes it unique. I think that's a good starting point for us. And then any other details that you want to add, like the stage that your company is currently in. Are there any significant achievements you've had or haven't had? Again, this information, when you give it to us, it allows us to better understand who you are and what type of support we can offer you outside of the fixed model, which is the sessions that you would be watching online, right? So usually the more information we have, the better we know how to connect you and how to support you with our network.
Okay, great. And the second question was, any details about intellectual property policies in the program?
I'm not really sure I understand this question because it could be understood in different ways. If you're asking if we have sessions that talk about how to protect your idea, then we do have that. And we can also connect you to lawyers that can explain to you what intellectual property, is and how to protect it in different fields and different markets, because IP registration changes from country to another, right? So we do have a network that is willing to support with that. If you're asking me if iPark would sign an NDA when you join, we would not. And the reason why we don't, and investors don't, and not a single program in the world does, is because every idea that you have, someone's already had, right? So ideas are not unique. Execution is, right? And the reason why we don't sign intellectual property waivers or we don't sign NDAs is because we never know who else is, applying to any of our programs. So if you apply with something and then someone else applies, we cannot have NDAs because there's no proof or there's no way for us to be able to determine, where the share of knowledge came from, if that makes sense. And this is a policy across the world. So not a single program would do that. So I'm not sure which question you were asking, but either ways, both answers are out there. So if someone else was thinking about these questions, then you have the answers for that. And can the program offer mentorship and help with assembling a team if my idea is to be based in the US? HR and team building is part of the program, right? And now, do we cover specifically the US? We don't specifically cover the jurisdiction when it comes to HR and team building, right? So we cover different topics in it. But when it's something very specific like this, then usually what we do is we put you in touch with someone. right? Because this would be more of a company-specific question.
Okay, thank you, Arthur. Basim?
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
First of all, thank you both for taking the time. I mean, it's a very great initiative, so thank you for that. I want to ask a question regarding the program. I'm in a very preliminary stage regarding my idea. So I want to ask, what exactly will you be screening when you look at the applicants? I mean, I thought it was some sort of incubator where anyone can join with an idea and you can help them execute. So now, from what I understood from the presentation, there's a whole screening process and there's a application to fill out. So what exactly will you be screening if my idea is very preliminary?
So honestly, for the idea stage, everyone is welcomed. So we don't really screen for the idea stage, but we try to start getting to know who you are from the idea stage. So everyone can join the idea stage program, right? So you're all welcome to do that. And throughout your journey in it, we start screening because when we go to stage 2, that's where it goes from. Typically, we would start with 200, and then it usually goes down to about 20 or 25 at the end of the first stage, right? But that's why the more we can get to know you and the journey, the better it is. But everyone can join the first phase because the first phase is really a very big educational phase, and the more involved you are in it, the more you will get out of it. The more you do the deliverables, the more we get to know you, the more we can connect you with potential mentors in the first phase as well. But it's honestly, the more you connect, the more you get out of it. It's called idea stage for a reason, right? So it's mostly, we don't expect you to have anything validated. We don't even expect you to have a full idea yet. So you might join us because you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to see what the journey is. Like Hani said in the beginning, you might be joining us because you want to audit the sessions rather than build a startup at the moment. Like maybe you're curious, maybe you know you want to build something, but you're not ready yet, but you want to see what it's all about. You can still do that.
Okay, great. So just correct me if I'm wrong. Everyone is welcome to join in the beginning, and it's throughout the journey when things get a bit serious, people will start phasing out depending on the idea, the performance, and those stuff. Correct?
Exactly. And we try to do our best to give you as much support as possible. Whoever is committed, we try to do our best for you guys to be moving on to the second phase and so on.
Okay, great.
So usually from phase 1 to phase 2, majority of the time is the commitment levels and the progress that you make.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Just one more question. For those who graduated and are working full time, sometimes if the meetings or the classes are a bit early, it could be very difficult for us to join. So my question is, is there a way for you to accommodate people who are also working full time?
In the idea stage, we usually take into account that most people are full time, which means sessions, as you noticed today, right? Sessions don't usually happen before 5 p.m. usually in the program. Early sessions might be at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m., but those are a bit more rare, especially in the IBP. A big part of the first phase as well is done through a lot of it is done through recordings that you can watch at your own time as well, and then you can book meetings at your convenience. Phase 2 of the program, we also take into account that a lot of our entrepreneurs are still full-timers. The majority of the programs in phase 2 also happen to accommodate for that. It's only in phase 3 where we need the founders to be full-timers. By the time a founder reaches phase 3, they're usually full-timers and they've raised funds. So that's usually the journey.
All right. Thank you. Thank you both.
Anytime. Annie, if I say anything wrong, please correct me.
No, actually everything is on point. Basim? Oh, we said Basim. Yes?
Yes. I wanted to ask regarding this idea. there's the concept of fail fast in software engineering, which I feel really works with entrepreneurship. Would the IVP program be able to help? Like the idea is basically trying to iterate on an idea until you fail, and then you find that you're supposed to, for example, pivot onto something else, for example. Where in the stage would we be able to do something like this?
Okay, here's the thing. The world of entrepreneurship is so much different than the world of academics. When you join us, okay, this is not like you taking a course. So you don't come in and I don't tell you that this is your project, this is what you have to be working on. Okay, this is your project, you're the entrepreneur. Okay, we're here to support you. The whole point of the program is to challenge everything that you're doing and to support you to be able to succeed. And I love that you brought up the fail fast mentality, because that's where the fail fast mentality came from. It came from entrepreneurship, right? Because engineers and so on fulfill the vision of entrepreneurs, correct? Because someone has a vision for something and then it has to be built. And it's usually entrepreneurs and scientists and all these people working together. The whole point is to be able to build, validate, and test as fast as possible, so that if you're going to fail, fail fast and then learn, because you're not failing until you give up. So everything that happens is either a learning process or, you give up and then that's when you fail. We work on pivots all the time, and a big part of the first phase, by the way, even phase 2, a huge part of it are pivots. And what I personally love, and that's what we work on in our company, right? We work on micro pivots. Micro pivots mean that we don't always need to change the full idea once every 6 months or a year. Sometimes we make small changes on a daily basis, and then these small changes over time build up into a 1 mega pivot. Does that make sense? So every day, your job as an entrepreneur is to break something within your own company. So you have to put your own self out of business, right? So that you can build something greater. So yes, I love that you asked it, but it's part of the whole program, and it's part of the whole journey. So we're not going to come to you and say, you know what, guys, it's time to pivot. No, you come to us and you tell us, based on what we've seen and what we learned, we think this is what we need to be building, and this is the reason why. And we are, that's amazing. We're so happy you found that out.
Yeah.
How can we support? How can we help?
And
Hey,
just another,
Uday, I mean, just on that point, like, let's say you had a prototype and you went to market with it and you found a potential customer. Let's say it was going well in the process of you onboarding or validating, and then for some reason they start to not like what you're doing and they churn. Let's say you go again, you get the same result. Somebody liked it at first, and then they were like, and then do it a third time, and then you're like, okay, maybe this isn't ideal. So that could be a specific example of how a pivot could look like.
yes, I understand what you mean. And just another quick question regarding idea that's in the fintech side of things. For example, let's say we don't have the technical expertise to be able to achieve something, but there is the vision of how it would want to be managed and done, for example. How possible, if you have the expertise, to be able to do something when you don't have the full, for example, tool set to be able to achieve, for like making an MVP, for example?
Well, a big part of entrepreneurship is being resourceful and finding the right people to join you. And sometimes those people change along the way as well, right? We're going to work together as well on what it means to build a team and who are the right co-founders and how to bring in the right co-founders and so on. It doesn't mean you need to pay them, right? I've built more than one company. I've never paid my co-founders in the first year, right? So at some point we had 10 people working on the team and no one was getting paid yet. The reason why they do that is because entrepreneurship and the energy of entrepreneurship is very addictive, and people want to be part of the phase, especially the early phase where something is being built. But you do need to learn, and that's what you're going to learn along the way, is how to be resourceful. And there are different ways to build MVPs. You can build an MVP without even having to write a code. You can get very creative. The whole point of the MVP is to find ways to validate the idea. especially in the beginning. Your first MVP is just to validate that there is a problem and we can, we have the solution, right? In the beginning, I don't know, you might create a template where people are using it. Now, for payment splits, I don't know how you do that, but I think there are different systems as well that allow you to do payments splits. So maybe you can use those. So you try to find tools that already exist and use them in different ways.
Yeah, I
Maria,
understand.
you have a...
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elias. Thank you for being proactive with us. Maria, you have a question?
Hi, Arthur. So my question is, and I don't know right now, after you just answered Elias, I'm not sure if I understood correctly, actually. I just completed the program, the AUB program, Entrepreneurship and Innovation. So throughout the 9 months, all we did was actually come up with an idea and validate it throughout the whole program. For now, if we want to join iPark, and right now it's the idea validation, I feel like we've already worked on a big part that we might, I don't know, maybe in the idea validation part, it's something that we're going to work on all over again. So in this case, what will happen? Because personally, I feel like I need the support to start executing. I feel like I spent so much time validating that I need to start executing to be able to really see the potential of my idea, the true potential of my idea, and also pivot accordingly. So
yeah,
this is
perfect. Thank you for that. Here's the thing, right? The program that you were in was more of a student program, correct? That was part of the course.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a bit of a difference between learning about entrepreneurship as a concept and then actually becoming an entrepreneur, right? When you're learning it as part of the course, you're still learning it in a very linear way. So you have step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that you have to do, and then you need to present it at the end. In actual entrepreneurship, there's nothing linear. You're going to be validating, executing, revalidating, re-executing, pivoting, brainstorming, so the timeline is all over the place. A big part of actual validation is the execution itself.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for us, and again, the big thing between moving from phase 1 to phase 2 is
Okay,
execution.
perfect.
Okay, so we work together. So when we're working together, you're not my students, nor are you Hani's students. Okay, you're entrepreneurs. Okay, my title is not professor. I'm the entrepreneur in residence. My job is to make sure that you guys are learning how to be entrepreneurs, which means a real world application. Because the real world does not care about you, does not care, right? It's not like university. And by the way, the rules change completely. And so here's the thing, right? So in academia, we always learn that we need to be 7 out of 10 times correct, right? So you need a 70% on your exams to pass.
Yeah. Yes.
Correct? Okay. In entrepreneurship, if you can be correct 7 out of 10 times, you will be a multi-trillionaire.
Okay.
Which does not exist. Maybe even more than trillionaire. If you write 1 out of 10 times in entrepreneurship, you will be a multi-billionaire. If not more. So in entrepreneurship, you need to get very comfortable with failing, learning, and then pivoting and adopting and growing from that, which is something you don't learn in a course. So what I want you to learn, especially in phase 1, is, okay, the real way of validating is going to the market. It's working with your potential customers, right? Validating, building, launching, gathering data, analyzing the data, and then accordingly deciding how to proceed. So you gather the data and then you're like, okay, I feel comfortable that I have product market fit. Or you're like, you know what, something's not making sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why it's important to be in a program, because that's where you see that, first of all, oh, this is completely normal, right? Second, you're like, I'm surrounded by a support group. And third, it's like, okay, who's going to help me? I have so many questions. Things are not working. What do I do?
Mhm.
Right? So the program is here to be able to do that for you, to be able to support you along your journey. Okay, but it's a
Yeah,
journey of execution. It's not a journey of having an idea, because ideas are cheap, execution is priceless.
yeah,
Every
exactly.
idea that anyone in this room has, or any idea that anyone in the world has, so many people have already had it. And the proof of that is a lot of times we see something succeed, and then we're like, oh, I had this idea 3 years ago. I wish I had done it. So many of us might have had ideas for carpooling. So many of us might have had ideas for an Uber, an Airbnb, an Instagram, a TikTok, whatever it is. A lot of people have ideas.
Yeah.
Very few people know how to execute. And that's the difference between a student and an entrepreneur.
Okay. Thanks a lot. You perfectly answered my question.
Thank you, Maria. All right. We have
Arthur,
time, I
can we
think,
take
for
a final?
one last question. Yes.
Also, everyone, I put my calendar in the chat, so if anybody wants to have a talk about where they're at, you can just book me. So I believe we had a comment in the chat from Ala El Ghawi. Yes, Ala, go ahead, please.
Yes. So I first of all, thank you, Hani and Arthur, for hosting this session. I recently graduated doing masters in pharmacology and toxicology at AUB, and I graduated with a breakthrough actually idea in the field of preclinical mouse models in the medical field, especially in establishing heart attacks on mice. So I established a breakthrough technique in the preclinical research field of inducing myocardial infarction, and it was not this particular technique was not published before. And actually, this new idea come up from a problem or from an accepted conventional technique that has been used for more than 3 decades, and it is published actually in the research article. But our breakthrough idea proved a lot of benefits. So I spent like more than 2 years, and I traveled to France, and I have managed actually to establish this technique that requires a lot of technical skills. But I don't know if this is the right platform regarding preclinical or medical stuff. Also, we are currently now working on another model, also regarding medical field, and it has not been worked before. So I am really skeptical or worried if it is the right platform here.
Well, I think that's very interesting, and congrats on all of that. That sounds super exciting. Um, Honestly, I don't know how to answer that at this exact moment, because there's a couple of questions that I have, and I'm sure Hani also is thinking about them at the moment. But this is maybe another chat to have in person together,
Yes.
specifically about what you're doing, because the question marks that I have, right? Because it's really about, are you planning on building this like as an entrepreneur? Like, do you really want to build a company out of it and grow it and then service the market or sell the idea? Or are you developing more of a like an academic intellectual property? Does the university have any rights to part of this intellectual property? Because this was done through a master research program. I don't know, right? So we need to talk together and dig deep and so on. What I can tell you, however, if you want to really do this as an entrepreneur, then yes, it is the right platform, because AUB's Innovation Park works very closely with AUH as well, right? Which means we support we've had a lot of medical technology companies go through our program. And we've had medical technology companies that have raised millions of dollars as well, that came through the program that we have. Because our program, the idea stage validation is the beginning, right? But once you make it through, the later stages, we work personally with you and with your company. We bring you the best mentors from around the world from our network, but then we also give you access to global markets so that you can also travel and get to know them. And a big part of what we work on as well, we love working with innovation, and as AUB, we're privileged to have access to AUH. So if our entrepreneurs are building something in the medical field, we have the support of that, right? But this is a very case-specific topic, and I think the best thing that you can do at the moment is go to the chat, go to Hani's link, and go on one call with them, and then explore it from there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Amazing. Thanks, Adam. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. By the way, this was the first anything session. Oh, sorry. I think my connection froze for a sec. I was saying thank you, everyone, for being here. This was the first ever Asking Anything session that we've hosted. So thank you for making it a success. And we're going to be doing this a lot more frequently. And hopefully with time, you guys would also be there to share your experience in the program with the newer generation that will come after you. Hani, any last words?
No, again, thank you, Arthur, for your time and for the great Q&A. So we look forward to seeing you all down the road in the IVP, and hopefully a lot of you will become part of the BNA after you do very well in this program. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have a good day.
Oh, and one last thing, we share a lot of information and knowledge as well on our Instagram page. It's AUB Innovation Park on Instagram. Also, you can follow us on LinkedIn. And by the way, the better relationship you build with us, the more we can support you, right? Like the more we can support you, the more we can include you. We always have events. We always have something happening, and the events are important because they put you in direct contact with our community, with our mentors, and with our other entrepreneurs. The best way to become an entrepreneur is to surround yourself with entrepreneurs. And I think we can give you that platform.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
You, bye.